What is going on, everybody? It is time to talk about the new unit. So if you've watched the patch note video, you'll know that Legion is going to have a new unit being added here in the next patch, 9.06. It's going to be the base of Cursed Casket, the first upgrade of Cage of Pain, and the final upgrade of Iron Maiden. Now, it's a very interesting unit, and I think its closest comparison is probably to that of a Nikomata, combined with a better ability of like a close-ranged mask or flower. So I wouldn't call it like a mask per se, as it does have like a full AoE in a small circle around the new unit, Iron Maiden. And that's what I'm just going to continue to refer to her as, because it's probably the most easy to remember of all of them. But I wouldn't really say that it really completely compares to any other unit currently in the game. Being that it's Pierce Arcane, I think it's pretty good on a lot of waves, really, for damage, but primarily 7, 8, 14, and then maybe 15 for tanking. Though it is a tier 4, it does have a little lower health pool than some of the other tier 4s, or I should say other arcane tanks, being at just under 4,000 at level 3. Now, it is a 330 gold full investment. Every individual upgrade after the initial 130 cost is only going to be 100, which makes it, I think, pretty usable early game as a gold sink, as well as a way for you to hold waves like 7 or 8. I do really like it as an opener, as with the cost of 130 and a single T1, so you know about 130, 150, you can hold one to a snail. Now, it pretty easily clears every wave after you've upgraded it to level 2, so that would quote-unquote be considered a pretty safe way to go about it. You would be a 230 open, so not super great if you want to push workers, but it would be safe all the way until wave 5 roughly. That being said, I'm not really super stoked about its 5-6, as I think that in its fullest upgrade form, it's at best decent on 5 and at best kind of bad on 6. I've not been able to find a variation of build with the full upgrade up to Iron Maiden on wave 6 that actually holds. There's been a couple, you know, that holds with moderate value to a moderate send. There's a couple of them that I did that are roughly speaking like 650, 700 value that can hold close to 100, but at a certain point you're spending a ton of money then to get a unit that's going to be dead value on wave 6. So I think leveling to 2, getting the Cursed Casket up to 2 is probably your best case scenario. Cage of Pain probably feels the best in that situation. That being said, I feel like it's very much similar to Flower in the sense that you really want to have all the units right next to it, because of the fact that its a mana ability is a small area of effect. So you're going to be playing off the fact that you realistically need to keep everything close to it. So almost a very, very dead split, or at best, you know, having it so that you're in situations like Flower where you just have everything kind of bunch up right away. That makes for some interesting setups. I don't know if I'd necessarily combine this with a Flower or Pyro, but it does kind of at least have a similar effect or function to those other two units. The biggest thing I'd say, though, is that this is more clearly defined as a support or tank, in the sense that it does good area of effect damage, but primarily it's going to only really deal good damage early. Late game, the biggest thing it can provide you is its anti-damage ability with the Iron Maiden through Blade Storm. It reduces the damage of its targets by 1 for 3 seconds, stacking up to 10 times. So if you get a lot of these things spamming, it does allow for a pretty good damage mitigation just from the base standpoint. That being said, I think the best support unit for Iron Maiden currently is probably something along the lines of Steed or Starcaller. I think giving it more mana is by far the best way to enable it to help you in the mid to early game, and well, any part of the game really, whether it be early, mid, late. Mana is its primary want. I found that healing can work on it in the early game with Butcher. It was one of the few ways I was able to hold 5-6 with lower value. The downside is it doesn't heal very much and can kind of fall off very quickly. So I would say use it more sparingly. That being said, it's no different than putting a Mudman or something in front of your Nightmare or something of those effects to give it, you know, quote unquote, some sustainability and tanking, regeneration, but it's not going to be much, if any. I don't really see attack speed buff being super usable on her. Again, if you're going to have an APS and you have an open slot, it's not the worst thing in the world. The only issue I've really found for her, in at least the case of 7-8, is on 8, just like Cat, if you get stuck on tanks, she really does nothing. So I was able to mitigate, I would consider to be a pretty value heavy wave 8 with such a, you know, strong arcane setup of Steed and Iron Maiden, being in the 800 to 900 value range, and I was leaking pretty heavily to a single dino and some snails. So keep that in mind if you're going to use her. She is not as good of a damage dealer as some of the other units in the general vicinity of 8. I would much rather see you keep her at like 2 and put something else down in the way of, you know, in a Trinity Archer, Elite Archer, anything that's single target damage rather than multi-target. And you'll kind of see in the video here, I don't really know if there's a better, more adequate way to do it. I had it kind of face tanking with some other units on the side, but I also tried to do it in a situation where you have some units that are good on 6, so then you have to transition now into a 7-8 hold. How do you do that? How do you go about it? So we'll see as time goes on how people can configure this unit to more adequately hold some of these sends, these waves, etc. It might be one of those things that you really just need to utilize her sparingly early, or utilize her in only specific combinations, but we'll kind of see. Overall, I really like Iron Maiden. I think she's a very interesting and unique unit. I think she's going to have a place in the meta, especially because we are lacking of arcane tanks right now. Realistically, we have Gargoyle and Badger. That's kind of it. So we have a Magic Arcane, we have a Impact Arcane. Currently, I'd say Badger is still not utilized as much as other setups, right? Gargoyle still is by far the preferred arcade tank. Because of that, I would say Iron Maiden has a pretty good opportunity to kind of fill that void, fill that slot, and kind of, you know, crash right into it all and see kind of what happens. I think early on, you're going to want to just use the second upgrade. Don't go all the way to 3. I think 6 is going to require some transitional unit, such as Windhawk or even a Berserker. That being said, if you're using Windhawk, Zerker, Zerker and Iron Maiden, you're going to be in a very weird spot when it comes to like Wave 9, for instance. So I think there's a little bit of a necessity to have something that's going to guarantee you a hold on 6 and 9, as well as help you out then on Wave 10. Because it's, again, not very good on 10, because its ability is more multi-unit based rather than single. I still think that you're going to need transitional units, though, to help you out. I don't really like Yozora in that same vein as I really don't like Berserker, because it gives you a weird transitional period where you don't have good tanks or good damage. And yeah, I think it's going to be nice. I think it's going to be nice. I think it allows for a pretty decent early mid-game, and then you kind of just got to go from there. If you guys have any questions on the unit, please drop them in the comments below. I'm still testing. I've only put in maybe an hour or so of work on this new unit, so I'm not entirely sure if it's good or bad, or really the thresholds that are required of it. That being said, I'm excited for more ability typings. I'm excited for more unique units to be added to the game. Let me know what you guys think of it. I think the design looks really cool. You know, shoot me a message in Discord if you would like me to test any certain things, whether it be different variations of Wave 1 openers or different variations of, you know, holding types for Wave 6. I'm always down to try some stuff out, and I'll probably on stream go through some of those things and try to get some better, more concrete information on the good, the bad, and the ugly kind of going forward. So again, and as always, I appreciate you watching. Please like, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.